Hello and welcome back to the next segment of our house building project in Amma. At the end of our first video, we had 4 corner posts, which then had to be leveled using water in a hose and cut. Dad got that done and strung up lines so that he could line up the rest of the posts as they were placed in the ground. I was in charge of the cement team, mixing and pouring at the base of the posts once Dad had them all set up and ready for me. We've got lots of helpers, lots of spectators. Feels like we're in an amphitheater. These Quila posts are super duper heavy, so it took quite a team to get them set up in place. Once the posts were upright, then Dad worked to get them plumb and in line with the rest of the posts. And then I and the cement team brought cement around and poured at the base of them. Then it was time to put up the bearers, or the beams, that would hold up the floor joists.
Okay, now by you stand up here.
Once the beams were in place, then Dad was able to get out his really long tape measure and make sure that the building was square. We also took the opportunity, with all the helpers that we had, to go to the company base camp and get all of the things that they had shipped up the river for us and stored in their warehouse. So all of the siding, the doors, both interior and exterior, the roofing, plywood. It took multiple trips with the little yellow truck, but we were able to get it all over to the building site. Once all the beams were in place, then it was time to start installing the floor joists. That was another major milestone. Before continuing with the flooring, we made a trip to town, and when we came back, all 3 of us, Mom included, moved out to Amma for 2 weeks to be able to really focus on the work. We set up camp and went to work. Installing the flooring was one of the first things we got busy doing. We were really praying that God would give us some dry days because it is the beginning of rainy season. We got it all installed in one day, plus put on a coat of varnish to protect it from any rain. One of my major tasks has been getting all of the timber planed. We had rough lumber, but it needed to be smoothed out, so all of the studs, the rafters, etc. went through the planer. The flooring. The veranda gets a hardwood floor. The rest of the flooring is plywood. And then it was time to start framing. The first wall is ready to go up. Framing is always a favorite part of the build just because it makes such major changes to the look of the place. But building with Quila is not an easy task. Every nail hole has to be drilled first if you want the nail to get pounded in straight. We had an amazing group of helpers. When Dad was ready to lift walls, we had enough guys to do it. And when he wasn't ready to lift walls, they were down underneath the house helping me with the planing, which was such a blessing. Once we got the first 2 bearing walls up, we shifted our focus to putting on the rafters and the purlins so that we could put on roofing on at least that portion of the house to protect the floor underneath, as well as the things that we're trying to keep dry as we go along. Again, our team of helpers was hugely appreciated. They seemed to be able to climb around on the rafters and purlins without even thinking about it. They just walk like it's a normal ground. Once the roofing was all up on that third of the house, then Dad started focusing again on building more walls. And then putting up the rafters, and then again the purlins. One interesting thing about Quila is that it has a very black blood that stains your hands, and it's impossible to wash off. The kids loved the building blocks provided by the cut-off ends. And then more walls. This is the last section of bearing wall, so the last section of wall that will be holding rafters. And that is actually the kitchen wall. Once it was up, we got the rafters on and put up some supports for the 4-foot overhangs, so that when we put the purlins on, we didn't have to worry about the weight out on the edge. And then our team of helpers got the purlins on in short order, and then it was time for the roofing. We were really pushing at this stage, just really trying hard to get a cover over the top of the house. The first third had been done the day before, so this other 2/3 was all done in one day. We then spent a weekend in Tipas, but then came back first thing Sunday afternoon, and Monday we were back at work again. The first order of business on this trip was to get the stairs installed so that we had easy access to the main house now that we were doing most of our building up there. And here's our first look going upstairs onto the veranda. You're looking through the wall into, well, there's going to be a closet on the end, and then the living room, and then the kitchen area is right here on this side of the house, on the right side. And there were bedrooms back behind the living room, and that's the view from the veranda. Can't beat the view. Then we focused on getting the rest of the exterior walls completed so that we could put up the siding. This allowed everything to be buttoned down and rain not to be able to blow in from the ends and whatnot. We got our system down pretty good with one extra helper besides Dad and I, and it went up pretty fast. Each sheet of siding covers a pretty big area, so that's helpful. Meanwhile, the group of guys that had been helping us were cutting down trees so as not to block Joella's view of the mountain, and to provide a place for a nice big garden for them as well. Dad put up some of the interior walls that are braced walls. He put double layer of thin plywood. And then we went ahead and started putting on fly wire along with the siding so that we could really button it down and keep the bugs out, keep the rats out, and make it feel a lot more like a house. We got the fly wire started while we still didn't have the siding on so that we could actually do it from inside instead of trying to figure out a way to get a ladder up high enough. So not all interior walls are complete yet. We're walking through the living room. Sean and Joella's room will be in the corner there. They'll have a walk-in closet. There'll be a second room as well in that space. Turning this way, there's 2 more rooms on the far side of that wall. And then there will be a bathroom laundry area on the end of this middle section, and then the outer section is the kitchen and pantry. We had to measure, cut, and install all of these blocks inside so that we had something to screw or to staple the fly wire to. And that's where we've gotten to so far.